All right, welcome back to the break zone. I'm JT. I'm going to cover the Meta Potion Circuit as we continue moving forward with our tournament. Now we're on to round two, and players have already played their first rounds, so players are getting ready to play their second round. And here on our featured table, we're actually going to be taking a look at David and Dylan, both of which were players on the U.S. Nationals. So let's go ahead and take a look at them as we start to play this match. Players are going to go ahead and start, doing their shuffles and getting ready. So far, we've actually seen a lot of different decks coming out right now, which is great. A lot of people are kind of experimenting. Both David and Dylan are very strong players. Both of them finished in the top 30s in the nationals. So they are one of the top players in the United States. So it's going to be a really great match to watch. A lot of experience between the two players here. So thank you for joining us on our stream today. If you like what we're doing, hit subscribe. We'll be covering a lot of Final Fantasy card game content with streams, videos, tech decks, and all that. So if you like what you see, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started and see who's gonna go first in this match. Both players are shuffling up and getting ready to go. It's going to be great to see, two really strong players kind of going at it. Great camaraderie between these players, both of which are local players here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We'll go ahead and see opening hands and see who goes first, who decides the and Dylan decides the mulligan. Mulligan is good. It's a double-edged sword. If you got something that you really want to play, but you can't play the hand as a whole, it's going to go back to the bottom of the deck. So, hopefully Dylan has a better starting hand. He drew first, so it looks like he's going first. We'll see what he starts the match out with. All right, he goes and pitches a Vincent. Oh wow, that is an aggressive play. He goes straight into the first turn Opus 2 Legendary Vincent, and then plays a Jesse, which grabs a Yuffie. Wow, that is a first turn with 2 4s on the board and a backup. I don't think I've seen a better first turn hand this tournament. Yeah, that is again. Here's the Vincent, and he plays the Jesse, which is actually a backup that lets you search for a Final Fantasy VII forward. And the forward he searches for, and I'll bring it up right here. The forward he searches for is one of the new forwards in Opus 3. It's Yuffie, and the reason why he searches for a Yuffie, and this is one of the reasons why I like the card, is because if you control a Vincent already, Yuffie gets played for free. So he dropped his entire hand, but he has 2 forwards that are ready to start putting a lot of pressure on David right away. Turn 2. It's really hard for a lot of players to match that type of speed. Even if they can play a forward on the first turn, they're pitching a lot of cards to do that, to just kind of catch up. David passes. He plays an Archer and a Yuna. Dylan is really coming out, being really aggressive here. He's going to enter his attack phase and swing with Yuffie and Vincent. And because Yuffie is out, Vincent has Brave. So he's good on the attack and defense right now, and really putting a lot of pressure on David right now. David has to answer this. He's already at 2 points of damage on turn 2. So let's see what he does. Dylan is looking really strong right now. The playboard is heavily in his favor. David needs to come out with something to stop this. He plays a Trey, and I'll go ahead and show everybody what the Trey does. It's a great card. It's a really strong card right now. Hopefully the power of Trey is going to allow him to kind of stave off a little bit of this damage that's coming in on Dylan's end. So Trey is good because when he's active, he can't be chosen by abilities, and when he's dull, he can't be chosen by summons. It's 8,000, so he's going to be able to trade with any of those characters. Dylan plays, wow, he plays into a Opus 3 Deleta, which is going to be able to walk right over that Trey. He attacks with Vincent, and David takes that damage. There's not much he can do here. If he decides to block, he's going to leave himself open for even more damage on subsequent swings. So that's a strong play with that Delita. I really like it. I think that Delita is really gonna give David a really hard time to deal with it, and I'm gonna show you why. Because David seems to be playing Wind Water, which is a lot of summons, a lot of heavy summons in that deck. And the reason why you don't want to target Delita is because when you do, you're gonna take a point of damage. So and it's a 9K, it's a 5-drop. You can't really do much to it without suffering some consequences. So David's doing a good shot here. He's playing the Steiner, which is going to let him search his deck for something else that can help him kind of build up his forces. Wind Water is very quick. It runs very efficiently. You're able to do a lot every turn. So he's going to get the Steiner. That's going to fetch the Ico. If he plays the Ico, he can get another Final Fantasy IX character forward, I believe. So he can actually grab something else, like if you're playing ice, you can grab a Kuja. In this case, if he plays the Ico, he has a couple of ability chances. Yep, he plays the Light Zidane, so he's gotten a little bit of board presence back. But the thing about Delita is that he's 9K, and there's not going to be a lot that David can do other than chump block at this point. He can try to play maybe a summon to help mitigate some damage to get rid of that Delita, but no matter what, he's going to be paying when he targets that Delita. So the Delita, when it comes in, it's kind of hard to deal with. You either just want to let it go through and deal damage, or the best thing to do is to block. If you're playing ice, maybe a Vayne to kind of disable it, but he's going to attack with the Vincent, and let's see what David does here. The Vincent is a 8K right now with Brave. Oh, 9K with Brave because of Yuffie. David takes the damage, flips over a Bartz, but doesn't really do anything because all his wing characters are already activated, and he's going to swing with Delita. That's going to be rough. Yep, that's a good block on the Steiner. You can always get another Steiner back because you can get guys like Ico and whatnot to help with that. So David's on the back end here. It's going to be hard for him to get some control back. Right now, Dylan has a huge advantage. He's able to keep the board state and continue to draw cards without having to play cards for additional pressure. So he could keep his cards because he's got the board state 1 in his hand. David's gonna attack with the tray. It might actually be a good idea if Dylan just lets this one through. 4 damage. I wouldn't sacrifice any of the forwards right now. He plays 2, and he's going to death penalty both of them. Wow. And we've seen death penalty before in our round 1 match. David can react to this, and let's see what he does. He's going to go to Leviathan back his tray, but the death penalty is still going to go through, and he's going to Fanfrit on top of the stack. So while he loses everything, he's going to force Dylan to lose 1 as well. Besting exactly. Yuffie is one of the best Fanfrit sacrificial lambs that you can get. She was free to cast to begin with. I don't know if that entire string of events was fortuitous for David, because now he's left with an empty board, and you've got a Delita and a Vincent staring down at you. An 8K and a 9K, both of which have abilities that require specific ways to get rid of them. So, Dylan is in direct control right now. He brings out a Bartz, which is, I believe, if he has multiple, right, he's got haste. He's going to bring David to 5. That's 6. And 1 more. I believe that's going to be game. And there we go. We have Dylan taking down David in a really, really strong match that we see here from Dylan. It was definitely what seems like more of a one-sided match, because David really couldn't get his footing. Dylan came out swinging with that Vincent into a Yuffie, and then that Delita drop was just a nail on the coffin. And and it's really difficult for a lot of people. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring up that Delita because I think the card itself, you know, is really strong. And let's go ahead and take a look at that Delita for just a second. It's a new card that's come out. It's a new card that's come out in Opus 3, and we've seen a lot of play with it in our play groups lately, especially after Nationals. We knew this card was going to be good when it came out. You know, it's a 5-drop 9K, so it's right on the curve for a lot of the the CP cost to power ratio, which I really enjoy. I think that's a really good card. Just on that alone, I feel like it's a really strong card. But Delita, if it's chosen by an ability that your opponent's character control, you got to break that character. If you choose Delita with a summon, you got to take a point of damage. So he's immediate board presence when he comes out. He's going to give you a lot of value for that CP because it's going to be really hard to deal with him. You usually don't see, a Delita come out until middle of the game, ish. Seeing it turn 2, seeing it turn 3, it forces your opponents to deal with it. And it's a really hard card to deal with. It's got the right power curve. It really, really does, have some amazing abilities. For everyone who's playing, if you're not already seeing this card in a lot of play, you're going to see it in a lot of play. And just like we just showed with with the Vincents, with the Delita, Earth is really coming into its own. A lot of mono Earth is really strong right now because Opus 3 cards like Delita, cards like the WRO members. It's really kind of rounding Earth out a bit. Earth was a little bit slow before. It wasn't particularly known to be fast. It was known to be big. But now with a lot of these newer Earth cards, they're not necessarily fast in terms of you can get them out quickly. They're fast because it forces your opponents to react. And that's a different type of speed. That's really a different type of speed, especially when your opponent have to react. Things like death penalty. It's really hard to deal with a death penalty. I mean, most of the times when you play a death penalty, you're setting up a board state to win. If you're using it defensively, it could swing the tides of the game. Using it offensively, you can put the match away. We just saw in that match, death penalty really was the play of the game right there because outside of the beginning Vincent into the Yuffie, which is, as a player, when I'm looking at that on the other side, that's really hard to deal with. That's difficult. Playing into that and you get a death penalty on top of that, you notice that Dylan was able to use his death penalty offensively, reactionary, and that's what makes Vincent so versatile. You can trade, and before damage is dealt, you can break. You can wait until they do anything like that. You can play the stack so that these abilities go through, and it really forces your opponent to do something. And his ability to recognize that and play that death penalty when he did left David with an empty board, and it was really hard for David to get back. Even though he's playing Wind Water, which I've seen him play, his board gets big really fast. It gets full. It gets quick. It's lean. It is a very strong deck. But I don't know a lot of decks that can deal with a second turn Delita, third turn Delita with a Yuffie Vincent. That's a really hard thing to deal with. It looks like Dylan got a very strong hand off of after there's Mulligan, and you're gonna see a lot of that when players come in with Earth. And especially with Earth, that they might not necessarily have a strong hand, but again, Earth has gotten a lot of these cards like Yuffie that really help its overall speed, both having the opponent react or just being reactive yourself. So that was a strong match. We hope you guys watched that. That was really interesting to watch. Two strong players go at it. It was good to see how certain players deal with really fast opening hands and whatnot. So that might be maybe one of the fastest Earth opening hands I've ever seen play. That was just amazingly quick and really difficult to beat, even for a top tier player. So we're going to take a break right now and wait until round 3. So thank you for staying around and watching our coverage of the Meta Potion Circuit for the NorCal event number 1. This is JT with the Break Zone, and we'll be back in just a minute.